Welcome, guys, to the Progress Over Perfection podcast, episode number 3. Now, today we're going to be covering everything around the subject intent. And this can be intent within everything that you do within life, whether that's training, whether that's routine, whether that's nutrition, or just mindset towards anything that you're doing. And Ali's going to take it from here, as this is something that he thought of today. So what brought around the thought of intent?
So I was going back through videos of previous mentors and coaches who I've learned off, and I was very, very fortunate once to go to a seminar with Ben Pakulski. Now, anyone who's into this exercise mechanics bullshit, Ben Pakulski is the the person who started it all off within just the industry, making it huge and massive. It was probably done by someone called Tom Purvis before that, who released RTS, but Ben Pakulski was the bodybuilder who sort of implemented it into this world. And he was just talking about, like, when you're going through an exercise and a rep, the tension and the movement needs to be performed with intent. And I think it's so easy to get caught up in this just shifting load or being accurate with execution, potentially up, but not intently think about what you're doing. So you think when you set up, that's it. But it's like you need to set up and then you need to think about the movements in which the muscle's trying to perform within the exercise. But then it also spiraled onto other things. Like me and Cal, we lived together for 7 months, 8 months, didn't we? And it was fucking boss, wasn't it? I do miss you. That's why I bought you a little mushroom, just so you can remind me of me, because I've got a mushroom head. But it's also the fact of, like, we used to do things with intent. Like, we used to get up in the morning and everything we'd do would have a reason and an outcome behind it. We wouldn't be just be going through the motions. So, like, Cal still gets up and goes for a walk really, really early. I do stretching, and the intent for me doing stretching is, one, I fucking hate doing it. I hate it because I'm really, really bad at it. But two, I also know it benefits me in regards to, like, mobility. I also know it benefits me in regards to doing something you don't like and getting that first tick off in the box, setting me up for the day then.
You're
Do you
reading
want to take
now.
over? Pardon?
You're reading now as well.
Yes, I am. Daily Stoic. Every day I read a page. And then I'm also I'm trying to read the 12 Rules by Jordan Peterson overnight.
Yeah. And as I say, you've got that intent for everything. And would you say that, like, is something that you get better at within, like, instead of just going through the motions with it, doing it with like a purpose?
Yeah, and I think especially when you can see the benefits in doing things with a purpose, because at the start it is hard. Like, trying to change habitual habits that you might have for a while, or trying to implement something at the start, it is hard and it is an effort. But then when you do things with intent, as we probably keep saying within this, like, even when you're doing a check-in, what's the intent of the check-in that you're doing for your clients? When you're going to shops, like, what's the intent of going for the shops, instead of getting sort of sidetracked by, oh, there's something there or there's something there. Like, you've went in the shops to get X, Y, and Z. Make sure you get X, Y, and Z before you get sidetracked and forget what you actually went in for. And how many times do people do that? Not people in prep, because when you're in prep you forget everything, but just people in general. Like,
Plan and then be like, oh shit, I forgot to get that.
but also, mate, remember, like, when I got the zero calorie sit-ups, and I just couldn't, I just forgot where one was.
Yeah.
But anyway, but it's like, you go in, you want to get your chicken, your minced beef, your veggies, your rice, and your bagels, whatever it may be for the person we're talking about in this conversation. But then you get sidetracked by coffee, and then you forget your bagels, and then you have to go out again. That's 30 minutes out your day. Whereas if you just went in with a list and intent of, I'm going to get this, get the most important things first, and then you buy the coffee, you don't have to go back out then. So again, for me, intent as well as being efficient with what we're doing, like, especially when it comes to training as well, I want to fuck myself up with the least amount of exercises so I can get home, recover, eat, not be in the gym for hours upon end. Maybe in the gym for hours because I need recovery between sets. But if I can get away with accurately training my back with 3 movements, I don't want to do 5. Because why? Do you know what I mean? Why? It's like, and then, because you could do 3 movements and go and train some quads, and then go and train some arms in 1 movement, instead of just doing 5 movements for back, and then you can't go and train anything else because you've only got so much volume you can recover from.
Yeah. And I do really think, like, what you said there is so important, that, like, the accuracy of everything that you do can be improved if you go into it with intent and with focus. Because I know for myself, like, how easy is it, right? Maybe not for yourself, but sometimes to go in the gym when you know you've got to do X, Y, Z afterwards, and it will be a tick of a box, but there'll be some kind of intent there. Whereas if you go in there with, like, the only thing that matters right now is this training session or is this set I'm doing, and you block out everything else in that moment, what you can put into that task that you're doing is like 10x.
100% yes. Can't agree more. And that's why when you get to that higher level of training, when you've been training for a while, you can get away with 1 set.
Yeah.
Or 2 sets. But when you are starting off, because you haven't got that ability yet, to execute exercises to the best of your ability because you're just new to training, it will take more sets, but you'll also have to do less exercises because that's what you need to do because you need to get better at it. There's nothing worse than when you see a client getting given like 7, 8 exercises for a body part and they've never trained before. It's like they're never ever going to learn the movements from all of them. It's like you and I being given a pair of fucking ice skates, getting told to ice skate and then do jumping and then try and do sliding with them and then go backwards on them. It's like we just need to learn to move forward first and try not fall over. And if coaches and anyone who's programming start to look at things like that, where it's okay, what's the most important thing? Okay, these 3 things that I need to attack the most. I'm going to master these 3 things and then I'm going to move on. So I got this journal here called the productivity journal, and it's a productivity planner. Sorry, and it's like I've got 5 tasks I can do maximum within a day. I only ever get 3 done, but I can't move on to the next one until I do the first one. So I couldn't move on from my check-ins, which I wouldn't do anyway. But I couldn't move on from my check-ins until I finished them, and then I went into some education webinars.
Yeah.
Now I can't move on. I've got to finish this one webinar to then do some marketing on Instagram.
Yeah, I think that's so cool because I actually read a quote and I'm going to put it up to reference it because it was really good. And I think it went along the lines of like, to be better, you need to do less.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's so ingrained all the time, isn't it, to do more and more and more, or cram as much as you can into your day to get it done. When if everything you're doing is at 50%, rather than doing 5 things at 100%, the difference and reward you're going to get from that's night and day. And I'm going to put it up to reference it.
Isn't it something like someone trying to, like, there's a quote in saying like, a master of everything is a master of nothing.
Yeah,
something like that. But it is so true, and like this is where it's like this is where like me and Nathan with like the A in education work so well, because I love training and Nathan loves anything to do with nutrition and gut health, but I also love mindset. So that's something that we're probably going to try and implement into the next intake, is a bit more mindset thing as well, because you and I both know when it comes to coaching clients, mindset's probably the biggest thing. Like, you can write the training program, the nutrition plan, but the client is going to adhere to it. You're fighting a losing battle straight from the thing. So it's like, it's trying to connect with the clients and get that intent of the client to want to perform everything that they can do.
And I think, again, it comes back to like, I always see it in levels. Like, if someone comes to you, like you said, and they've never stepped foot in the gym, their intent is, you've got 5 sessions a week. Show up to the gym and be intent with just showing up to the gym 5 times a week. Whereas if you've got somebody that's an IFBB pro and needs to bring up one body part, then their intent is, like you say, executing that movement to the best that they can. So the intent's the same, but where you're placing that intent's going to vary massively from person to person.
100%. And I think like when we take away from training as well and just talk about like lifestyle and mindset, you've got to make sure that everything you do in life, you actually giving 100% to. Because if you're not, what's the point?
Yeah.
So it's like, and it's like when you're in that, like, it's like when you get older, it's like, I'm obviously a lot older than you, you realise your circle is very, very small. It's the amount of effort you put into the people that you really, really care about is very high because it's so small. Whereas you're younger and you have like 20, 30, 40, 50 friends, you're not that arsed about every single one of them. So the logic's sweet, what's the point having them there?
Yeah.
Now, if you can break it down like that, now it's like, what's the point having people there that you're actually not that arsed about, and they're not that arsed about you, because they've not dropped you a message as well as you've not dropped them a message.
Yeah.
So it's like, what's the point?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I think as well, like, the more you work on yourself, the more you're aware of like how precious your energy is. And like you said, why would you want to waste your energy on something that's 50, 60%? Why not just put 100% energy into something for 100% rather than do it half-assed or waste time doing something which it doesn't actually serve you or not really that you want to do?
Yeah, and I said this to one of my coaching clients I was mentoring a few weeks ago, actually, because we were talking about like energy, and like, you've got an energy cup, haven't you, and you can only give so much. If a client's only giving you 50%, give that client, like, you do what you need to do, but you don't go above and beyond for that client. But you've got that client who's ticking every single box to the best of their ability. They are grafting their arse. You give 120% to that person, because that person is, one, respecting your time, they're respecting and they trust your process, and they're the ones who are going to get a result. A lot of people now think they just pay a coach and then that's it. I've made that commitment. It's like, you've done fuck all. Then you just paid some money. Like, the whole point is, you have to follow the training program, you have to follow the nutrition plan, you have to push yourself outside your comfort zone. And when you get that gem of a client who does all that, but then asks you questions off it, it's like, why am I doing this? Or what about this? I've seen this. And it's like, you know, you've got someone bought into the process. It just makes you smile. And then you want to give them everything because they're giving you everything. Like at the end of the day, it's a two-way street, isn't it? It's a working relationship.
And it's always them clients that want to ask more questions. They're like, "Oh, sorry, I'm asking another question." I'm like,
Yes.
"No, ask away." Like
Yeah, yeah.
the more questions that they ask, one, the more effective the coaching process is, and second, it shows how interested you are. And like you said, I'll always match that interest with someone wanting to learn because, like you said, that's such a golden trait in someone to have that when they're willing to take on and learn things, then their potential is endless because they're wanting to try and wanting to be better.
Yeah. And also, it's like when people are trying to understand why more about something, they're going to believe in it a lot more. So we using Nathan before, weren't we, in the protein? And it's like it's taking all my trust in Nathan to keep this protein low, but I understand why. So I understand if I have higher protein, protein's quite hard for the body to digest. My digestive system isn't exactly optimal. I don't have the best stomach acid levels right now, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
But if Nathan just said to me, "I'm just dropping your protein," but didn't explain, I didn't go in and do some education myself around this. Understand that actually what we actually need to grow tissue is actually what we need to grow tissue, and you can argue that it is bro science why we have more protein because it's just something that has been happening for longer. It's like you've got to take that and you've got to just look at that thing. But again, because I trust Nathan, because I understand the process, I will do it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's so important, and it just boils down to like you say, little things. When if someone's going in for a training session, the way I always frame it to clients is like they've come to me to achieve a goal, right? Whether that's to lose
Mm-hmm.
weight or to build muscle, their opportunity to make that happen is that hour in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of just going to the gym to tick a box, say to yourself before you go in for that session, my chance to achieve what I want is within this hour, and really home in on that. And like you said, think about the outcome of what you're going to get from doing that, and then the intensity that you're going to be able to put into it's just a different level because you know the reward from the action.
And it's also just more rewarding and more enjoyable when you do that. Like
100%, yeah.
when you go in, you actually really want to do something and you tick it off, and you know it's been hard work, but you've got the other end of it,
Mm.
and you know you're better. Because that's something I love about training. Like this is where like the kick of it really comes from me. It's like every single time you set foot in the gym or set foot going for a run or you step outside going for a run, I should have said, or do whatever you're doing, your skill or sport, it's like that's your chance to be better than what you were the previous day
Mm.
or the previous time you've done it. There's not many things in life that you can see that instant progression.
Yeah.
So, like
No,
for example, like if you're trying to build tissue, that is a long process. It's a long process to visually see it. If you're trying to get fitter, it's a long process for you being able to do it. But them training sessions are little wins.
yeah.
So, for example, say if you went from doing a 10K in an hour and 20 to do that 10K in under an hour, that's a long process. But you might go hour and 20, hour and 19, hour 18, 37 seconds, whatever it may be. And there's them little wins that's getting you closer to that goal. The same when you go to training, it's like me and you having a battle on the Atlantis, which I think I might be losing now because I'm only training more with intent. But anyway, what you call it? But it's like, for you and I get to our goal, it's a long process. It's a 6 month goal, you could argue. But every single session, you get that one extra rep or that half a kilo up or that kilo or whatever it may be. That's progression. And you feel great at the end of it. And again, there's no reason why you can't be. I write every single time at the bottom of my journal is be 1% better. If you're 1% better every single day in what something of your life, it's so rewarding. And then that accumulates. So you're not the same person you were 6 months ago. And I think that's like, I think you and I both had this discussion, like you and I being the same person who we were 6 months ago is quite scary. We don't want that. We want to see constant development. That's why you and I have weird conversations all the time about just personal development. And we ask questions about thought processes and things like that because we want to question ourselves and we want to see if the way of what we are thinking could be better in some way, shape or form.
Yeah. No, I couldn't have worded it all better. And I think as well, like I know this is a personal insight to me, and I don't know if you're the same. I assume you are. I think training, like the ethos of progression in the gym, gave me the mindset towards life that I do now.
Yes,
Like
yeah, 100%.
if I didn't go into the gym and take one more rep every single time and see the results, I don't know if I'd have the same attitude towards sticking to my routine every day, or I don't know, adding, or just business progression, like being able to deliver more to my clients, like learning more so I can be better. I don't know if I'd have that same mindset I do now if I didn't have that delayed gratification through training.
No, I completely agree. And something that Robbie, who owns Full Bus Sports, said to me is like, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So, and this is like, I mean, you can take like the reps and reserve and all this kind of thing into consideration. So it's like, I train to failure because I love to give everything.
Yeah.
So it's like, when it goes to my clients, I love to give everything. When it goes to my nutrition, I want to leave no stone unturned. I want it to be the best it can be. But I also, on the flip side to all this, I want to have a good life as well.
Yeah.
So going out and having sushi with Charles, or meeting up for you at what we're doing at the end of this month and going for a burger, or what we'll sushi, probably have sushi again, won't we? Whatever it is, and then have fun in the training session and being present. And I think the thing about intent as well is you have to be present when
Yeah.
you're being intent with something, and being present is something that's very, very difficult nowadays. And I know you and I have had loads of conversation about this, and I think that's one thing I do miss about when you used to live with me, is like we were always present with each other. It's
Yeah.
very, very hard for us to be sidetracked, and if we were sidetracked, one of us would have noticed and then tried to bring us back to earth a little bit. And like when you're not doing things with intent, you can also argue that you're not being present in the moment as well.
Yeah.
And that's when, obviously, when you're training, you could get hurt, but also other aspects of life. If, for example, if you're going to see like a loved one, like a nephew or like a family member you haven't seen for a while, and you're not there with intent to having a good time with them, and you're sort of scrolling on your phone, why are you fucking there in the first place?
Yeah.
You're wasting their time.
Yeah, so true.
So,
And I always think as well, like this is one thing I've definitely noticed with myself, and I think I learned it at a perfect time before I started getting busy with coaching, that bodybuilding is quite robotic. And I know it's relating it to bodybuilding, but the habits that we all do on a day-to-day basis to get progression are very robotic in nature. Like we've got this many steps to do, we'll find a way to get it done, or we've got this amount of weeks dieting, we're going to just lock in and just stick to the same daily routine. And like you said there, I think having intent behind an action makes you present, because if you're just quote unquote ticking boxes, you're never seeing the opportunity that's there alongside the action, like steps, for instance, right? How many times will you be like, I've got to go and get steps, rather than I've got to go for a walk and enjoy the surroundings? You're looking at your watch, you're counting down the steps, and you're not taking in everything that's around you, or, just little things. And I think that's one thing that, I learned from being with you, is like, make what you're doing more present rather than just seeing it as an action without intent.
yeah, and it also makes it more enjoyable then as well, because when you're saying, I'm going for a walk, it's like, you're going for a walk. It's like, when I'm going to get steps, it's like, but it's just, you're making it sound like a chore
Yeah,
already.
yeah,
So it's like, you're not going to enjoy something. I like, look, it's like, when you start being like a little bit in depth about all this, it's like, you're very, very lucky to be on this planet. Like,
hmm
I always like to say, like, when it was lockdown, we weren't even allowed to fucking do that. So it's like, you going for a walk with someone is a luxury. And
hmm
again, like, me and you are very, very good at putting things in perspective, because sometimes you do get caught up, and like you do get comparing yourself to other people, and because we're only human at the end of the day. But then when you take a step back and go, you're doing something that you love, you earn enough money to pay your bills, and you get to train in the middle of the day, you go for a walk because you get to go for a walk in the middle of the day wherever you want to go. You're not stuck up in an office. It's like, your life's pretty sweet. It doesn't, go on, sorry.
No, and it was even on a deeper level. I know it's a proper deep one to go into, but remember when we saw, like, we drive into the gym, we see a guy walking with a walking stick.
Yes, yeah,
We'd be like, that could be us one day. Like,
yeah,
how privileged are we to go in the gym, batter
yeah.
ourselves, and come out of it feeling good? Like, that person hasn't got that opportunity anymore.
Yeah, and it's the same with like it goes deep again, doesn't it? Like when me and you had the conversation about homeless people once, and
Mm,
like how shit is that there's nobody. It's like, no matter what I've done, I think to a certain level, like my mum, dad, my sister, probably past exes would never like let me be on the street for a
yeah.
period of time.
Mm,
So it's like, if you're in that position, that's really shit and sad. So the fact that everyone probably listens to this call has got a house over their head, a roof over their head, isn't it? A roof over their head, they got food in the fridge. Like when you're dieting, you're choosing to eat less food. That's a privilege. It's like it puts a big puts a big smile on your face. The fact that like we get to do all this and we're not in them situations, and you should be grateful. Like life is hard. Like you have to work, you have to earn money, but at the same time, it's harder in other areas of the world than what it is back here.
yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. And I think sometimes you see the people that go through the process the easiest are often the ones that have been through the most stuff. And you can
Yes.
kind of then look at them and be like, wow, like that's the reason that they're finding that easy, is because they've actually experienced a lot of life. And then
Yeah.
that then gives you the moment of like, okay, let's stop thinking about it like this and
Yeah.
just, like you said, put it in perspective.
I think like to sort of reference a study on sort of similar to what you're just saying then. So I don't think I reference it in this podcast. I do reference it a fair bit because it just goes to show how past experience can affect how you feel essentially. So there was this random four people done this leg extension, and they've never trained before, but they took a leg extension to failure. Okay. The following day, they asked about how sore their quads were. Three of them couldn't walk. The other one was, all right, it's a little bit sore. When they delved into the person's histories, the other guys that said hadn't trained, he hadn't trained, but he smashed his femur in a motorcycle accident. So the amount of pain he experienced compared to the leg extension was not that much. So his perception of what he went through the previous day and then the following day wasn't as bad as what the other people who've never experienced anything like that before. So it goes to show, like, what you saying before, Carl, it's like what you have perceived earlier. Like, I remember when you and I were going for a walk, or we were in the car, sat down, and we said we're never going to complain about being tired. Because, like, we both used to, like, we both being tired. Like, us feeling a little bit underslept isn't the same as dragging yourself out of bed, dragging yourself, because you've literally been non-stop. Because when you are growing your business, that's what it's like. And then you get to that place where you're not more comfortable, but your actions are sort of like around where you are as a coach now. So we're both a little bit more established than what we were when we first started off. So we don't have to do the 4:30 get-ups. I know you still do, but the 4:30 get-ups and go to the gym. The fucking 9 o'clock finishes and drive home. You're home at 10 o'clock. You've got to eat your last meal. You have 5 hours sleep and then rinse and repeat into Groundhog Day. But then that puts you in a position now where we feel quite privileged and we appreciate our surroundings of, we get to sit in front of a laptop desk. I've got fucking some M1 education on this screen here, which I get to learn. And I get to work with people who I love working with.
Yeah. No, I'd love to be able to get someone on this podcast, right? They could talk about it, because I find it in general as a concept so interesting. Do you like how it's genuinely what you're exposed to, which perceives how hard you find something?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I was speaking, I can't remember who I was speaking this to about, but it was like, Joe, was it you? We were speaking about like stress eating.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like some people stress eat, don't they, and some people don't eat at all. I want to know why. So I've got a feeling it's like leptin and ghrelin. But again, I also feel like it's the fact that maybe when you were younger, you've done something, and the other person when they were younger, they didn't do something. And it's like, because it is a psychological thing, because no one's hungry. Do you know what I mean? Like people who aren't eating are not hungry, and the people who are eating aren't hungry because you're going for a stressful event. But people respond in different ways to comfort themselves, or they respond in different ways. And I'd love to delve into that. But we should definitely get someone on about the psychology aspect of it.
Yeah, I find it super interesting, because again, like we can both, take me and you for instance, be presented with the same challenge, but the way or the difficulty level that we find, even though it's exactly the same thing, will be different based on what we've done. And I think it boils back down to, doesn't it? Like, people say the more you do something, the better you get at it.
Yeah.
And I think the first time you do anything, you're always going to be shit, or not as good as you could be, because you haven't done it before. So, like, when people say, well, I don't know, for instance, like, let's say talking in front of people, like some people are quite shy. The more you do it, and the more you talk to people, the less shy you become. And I think it's a tenet for life, isn't it? Like, the more you do something, the better that you get.
100%. Like, that's a very good example, actually. So, like, I speak a lot now. Like, I hold seminars. I will talk happily in front of a camera and all this. But when I was younger, if you asked me to read in front of the class, that was my worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Now, if you ask me to read, I still wouldn't like to do it, because I don't like to read. But being the centre of attention when I was a young kid, I didn't used to like it at all. Whereas now, because I've done it so often, and you're more comfortable what you're talking about, and you understand everything a little bit more, and you understand how to interact with people more, it is easier. But that's only come from practice. I remember when I first done a video, and honestly, you're talking ages ago here, mate. You're talking probably, you weren't even probably born. But like, it was definitely about 10 years ago, and I just made a word up. I was supposed to say competitor, and it's like I'm saying competitor, and I couldn't stop saying it. And honestly, I can remember exactly where it was, and I couldn't stop it, and I've never felt so embarrassed in my life. Whereas now, if I made a mistake, I just won't be asked. But again, it's that repetition. It's just that repetition, like what you said. It's like, and that's where people fail a lot, is they find it hard and they give up. But if you persist through it, it's like when you first done a 4:30 walking, you must have thought, fuck's sake. Or the first one might have been okay, but like the sixth one, when you're a little bit tired, it's like, for fuck's sake. But now you do it, you understand the benefits of it. And because you're, quote unquote, intense and present with it all, you enjoy the outcome. But you have to go through that shit part to then feel the benefits of it.
100%. And like you said, it's about stacking things together, because the more you do something, the easier it gets. And I think for anybody listening that's potentially struggling to build a habit, or struggling to break through that something that they find challenging, it genuinely comes down to just repeating it. And even if you do it a few times and you fail, the only way from there is to go up. So you just got to keep persistent with it and keep going.
Right, so what should we leave with people to do? What can we leave with them to action?
So
I've got one
question for you. Anybody that's struggling to, let's say, have intent with their training sessions, and they're kind of going in, just going through the reps, doing the sets, reading their program, what advice would you give them to, like, let's say, dial in and really go into that session with, as we say, intent?
Hire a coach would probably be the best one if you're new to training, to be honest, for like an execution standpoint. But think about the muscle that we're trying to work. Understand what the muscle does. within that action of the exercise that you're trying to perform, and make sure that's what it does. That's probably the best way to describe it. So I'll take that line hack squat that I've done today. We know we're trying to get dorsal flexion of the ankle, knee flexion, and my aim is to try and drive that knee as far forward as I can the whole way through it, whilst keep my heel down on the heel wedge, and then also pause at the bottom. And before I move, I think about contracting my quads. And then even on the way up, I think about contracting the quads all the way through it. So no tension is let off. Now, this is extremely difficult because it really hurts. And it's very, very easy to catch yourself just letting that tension go. But then it's the intent of bringing it back to it. Because we're not robots. At the end of the day, putting yourself in pain isn't something your body wants to do. So your body's always going to find a way to get yourself out of it. So that when you're battling with yourself, essentially, you might want to do something, but your body doesn't want to do it. So it's like, and it's being so quick and aware of catch yourself. It's like sort of, like catch yourself when you're in a bad mood and snapping out of a bad mood. It's like the body, it's the same kind of thing. It's like your body's always going to try and find a way to make you more efficient within the exercise. So it's trying to get better at catching it and then putting the tension back on where you need it to be. But going in the exercise and spending time where it's the hardest, that's probably one of the best things to say to people as well. So, for example, on a bicep curl, you want to spend time at the top for the majority of reasons, because that's where you're going to get most bang for a buck. If you're doing like a preacher curl, if you're doing like a low handle seated curl, you want to spend a little bit more time at the bottom. Probably a better way to put it for everyone, spend time at both extremes. Spend time in that fully lengthened, spend time in that fully shortened position. But where the exercise is the most challenging, spend the most time and contract the hardest there. And then as you can come up, just try and keep tension on the tissue.
Awesome. And I think, like you say, it does come down to seeing the opportunity of training more than just stepping in the gym. It's like, this is a chance to either grow this body part you're struggling to grow, or this is an opportunity to get stronger at something. Home in on what your intent is for that session or for what you want out of it, and then do as Ali said and really focus on them aspects of the training.
And what would you give people when they're trying to start a new habit? Like, what would your best piece of advice be for that?
Yeah, good
Because
question.
you've had a fair bit of change, haven't you?
Yeah, I think the best thing would be, like we said, think about the outcome as well as the action that you're doing. So if you're saying to yourself, okay, I feel good getting up at 4, but it's been a struggle, think, okay, what am I going to get from this? I'm going to be more productive today. I'm going to get more done. I'm going to feel less stressed because I'm on top of my tasks. And when you start stacking the positives that you're going to get from it, you're then going to be more inclined to do it, rather than just seeing it as, I'm getting up at 4:30. Wake up with intent, knowing that off the back of that action, you're going to get X, Y, Z, and then that's going to make you more inclined to repeat that task.
Yeah, awesome. I would completely agree. And one last thing I'd say to people is, when you leave this, write down your perfect morning routine. Like, what you class the perfect morning routine of. And say if it's like, get up at X amount of time, get a shower, stretch, make meal 1, whatever it may be. Make sure when you write that down, you box off the first task for a week. And then you move on to the next task, and then you move on to task. So you're not trying to overwhelm yourself with doing all of it at once. Just get up at that certain time, and then try and do the next few things, but don't put so much pressure on yourself trying to do the next few things.
Well, that's sounding cliche. Think progress over perfection.
Yes. But it is though, isn't it? That's literally like, it is, it's progress over perfection, because you're never going to be perfect. Life throws shit at you all the time, but you can always make little strides forward every day.
Then, so on that note, guys, thanks again for watching, and speak to you on episode 4, where we've got the one and only Callum Pro Coach on for some questions on mindset.
Stays up.